Welcome to this modern Indian lecture series. In this lecture, we are going to take chapter 2 of Bipin Chandra, and it is the part 3 of the chapter. In this lecture, we are going to take the areas around the Delhi. So the discussions will be upon the Rajputs, the Sikhs, the Punjabis, the Ranjit Singh, and all. And after that, we will take the Maratha kingdom separately and the social structure of during this era, during this 18th century. Moving ahead to this lecture, I will request you to please go through this lecture till the end so that you will have a complete picture of it. Further, I will request you to please subscribe this channel. This is a new channel. I really need your support. Now, the Rajput estates. Rajputs were the main key holder for the Mughal. So, the success of the Mughal in any war actually it depended upon the Rajputs only, because their military has the officials full of Rajputs, and the Rajputs have a key skill in fighting. They have a very great skill in fighting, and that's why this became also one of the main reason of the declining of the Mughal, because they had started to tussle with the Rajput kings and all. And as the tussle happened, so the number of Rajput from their military got declined, and thus their military power also decreased, and they started to lose various fights. And after the death of Aurangzeb in the after 1707, these Rajput also observed that the central Mughal authority now it's declining, so they started to increase their influence in the Mughal administration. And that's why we will see that Raja Savai Jai Singh will get the title of Mirza Raja Savai Jai Singh by the Jahandar Shah, and the Raja Ajit Singh will get the title from the Jahandar Shah, that is the son of Bahadur Shah. They get the title as a Maharaja Ajit Singh. And on the place, these two kings were given allowed the collection. They became the governor of Malwa and Gujarat, and further they used to get the collection of Sardeshmukhi of those regions, but the collections will be done by the Mughal officials only, but they started to get those revenues as well for that region. So that's why they started to increase their influence within the Maratha kingdom, so that they will have a power in those areas. Okay, so that's what it's explained here. So the principal Rajput estates took advantage of the weakening of the Mughal empire, and they started to make virtually independent from the central ruler. Okay, so we will see that in the chapter 1 it was discussed that Bahadur Shah, when Bahadur Shah came, so he took away the regions from the Ajit Singh and Raja Savai Jai Singh, but it was declared as a foolish action done by him, and at last he returned those states to them. And after that, his son only Jahandar Shah awarded the title to those kings. So that's what that much attention if it is given to a particular state, and that by a big state, so it means like they had some influence. They started to have influence on those regions. Okay, so they started to make virtually independent from the central ruler, and further they increased their influence under the empire, such as the same example, Raja Savai Jai Singh and Maharaja Ajit Singh were given high mansabs and the ranks under the Mughal officials by the Jahandar Shah. They were made governors of important Mughal provinces such as Agra, Gujarat, Malwa. So they started also Gujarat for the Ajit Singh, or the governor of the regions, and they were further allowed to get the Sardeshmukhi of that region. Okay, but it will be collected by the Mughal officials only. So that was the condition. But after that, we will see that this was also revoked, and they started to get collected by their own only. So most of the larger Rajput states were constantly involved in quarrel and the civil war. Internal politics of the states were same corrupted and the indiscipline like the Mughal. So in the Mughals also, what happened? In the Mughal also, nobles had the issues within them. So they always had a quarrel between them. Okay, so the power of king was less, and the power of noble were high. It is the same condition. Like right now we have a president and the prime minister. All the power is under the hand of prime minister, not the president. Okay, so similar conditions was there in that period as well. Okay, so the quarrels happened in the Mughal only. There was disturbance with the due to the nobles, but in the Rajputs also there was a quarrel, like the similar to the Mughal officials, because they copied the same administration of the Mughal only. Okay, so thus we will see, because of how we can prove that there was indiscipline during the within the Rajputs as well. The death of Ajit Singh of Marwar was killed by his own son. That's proved that there was a quarrel for the fight, where for the throne, where his own son is killing for that throne, for the ruling the empire. Okay, so the most outstanding of Rajput ruler of the 18th century was none other than Mirza Raja Jawai Singh. Mirza was the title given by the Jahandar Shah. Okay, so for the Amir, he ruled from 1681 to 1743, and if we see that 1708 1707 was the death of the Aurangzeb. So he founded the city of Jaipur, and he was a personality of great science. He believed in the science. Even the construction of the streets in his empire was completely geometrical. He used to read the books of the geometry. He used to he was a great astrologer as well. Astronomies and all that he used to read. Okay, he knows the trigonometry books, and also it was like he had knowledge of mathematics, science, and he used to read those books. Okay, so the Raja Jawai Singh, he founded the city of Rajput and made it a great seat of science and art. It was built with strict scientific principles. What kind of strict scientific principles? Those are the streets that were built, that was built upon the 90 degrees. They cut each and 90 degrees, like we see in the Harappan civilization. So the broad streets are intersected at right angles. He was a great astronomer as well. Few devices he invented himself at Delhi. So it was not like he bought from the Western countries. No, he developed those devices himself. That invented those things at Delhi, Jaipur, Ujjain, Varanasi, and Mathura. His astronomical observation was remarkably accurate, and the calculations of the distance and all the astronomical phenomena he used to calculate. That was almost like accurate. Okay. So he was famous for that as well. He used to read Euclidean theory, elements of geometry, translated those books into the Sanskrit as well, and transferred several his works in the trigonometry and all. He used to read Napier's work also, who worked upon the logarithm and all, that the base 10, base 2 and all. Okay, log. Okay, so he read the works of the Napier on the construction and the use of logarithm. Raja Jai Singh was a reformer. Yes, he was a social reformer as well. So there was a ill practice between the Rajputs, and it basically affected king's empire as well. But for the local people also, it affected. Why? There a dowry system started in the northern. Is prevailed in the northern, but in the southern it was not much there, and it was a patriarchal society for the northern. And in the south, we have seen that one of the few states have a mother's female have a great power, but in the northern it was like patriarchal, where the male will have a dominance over the female. Okay, so dowry was the main issue. Whenever you are marrying your daughter, you have to pay certain amount to the boy's family. Okay, so that was one of the evil thing present in that in that era, in that society. And because of that only, people used to kill their small infant daughter child. Whenever if the girl child, they used to kill them. Okay, they used to kill them. That was one of the evil practice that was done, and it was only because of the dowry only, because they have to marry after 10 or 15 years, and at that time there was a child marriage also that was going on, so they have to pay all the dowries. And also Raja Jai Singh started to took action against it, but he failed. But he was the one, he raised his voice against it. Okay, so Raja Jai Singh was a social reformer. He tried to enforce a law to reduce the expenditure that the Rajputs had to incur to their daughter's marriage. This had given rise to the evil practice of female infanticide. This remarkable prince ruled that Jaipur for nearly 44 years, from 1699 to 1743. Okay, that is his ruling period. So he was a great person with great knowledge in the science, mathematics, and social reformer as well. So whenever we have to give the example for the social reformer present in the 18th century from the Indian history, so he will be the great person to give the example for that, because the main thing to point to note that he had taken action against the dowry as well. Okay, now the Jats. So the Jats were none other than the people of the agriculture who used to perform agriculture. Okay, and within them only there were like lower caste and all that prevails, and after that we will see that the Sikh community will form within, if the Jats, the poor people within the Jats, the lower caste within the Jats, they started to form a group and they will come under the Sikh community. Those things we will see in the next slide. Okay, so the Jat, a caste of agriculturists, lived in the region around Delhi, Agra and the Mathura. Okay, so those Uttar Pradesh areas and all. Okay, so Jats peasants around Mathura, they revolted against Jamindar in the 1669 and 1688, but they failed. That was a rule around from the way we will see that Aurangzeb will be there. Okay, so they were suppressed, and at that time Mughal was not declining, Mughal was at its peak. Okay, Mughal was at its peak. During that only we will see that the Tej Bahadur, the Shivaji's sons all were captured, so their mothers also were captured. In this time only we will see, we have seen that those were captured, and also Mughal war at that time where its peak, and he was ruling with a strong hand. After the death of Aurangzeb only the Mughal started to decline. Okay, so they revolted against the Jamindars in the 1669 and the 1688, yet it was suppressed, but the area remained disturbed. After the death of Aurangzeb, that happened in the 1707, Jats along with the Jamindar started to revolt in the Delhi as per their advantage. So it was not like that they formed group or there was unity. No, there was no unity kind of things. They formed a group as per their advantage. So if this king is creating a problem for us, we will form a group, we will fight with them, and those kind of situations used to happen. Okay, so that's why it's mentioned like they used to revolt as per their advantage. So it was not like a unity for the freedom or for their region. Okay, so it was not like that unity kind of things. Now the Jat state of Bharatpur was set up by the, yes, here you have to remember few of the names, that is important name. The Jat state of Bharatpur, that was set up by Churaman and the Badhan Singh. Okay, and Jat power reached at its highest glory. So if someone asks that when this Jat power reached at its highest peak, so it will be like Surajmal will be the only always the person where this Jat power raised at its highest peak. So in the Rajasthan area, so they were ruling all those things. So Bharatpur, if we see, that is in the Rajasthan only. So it was set up by these two people. So this Jat group was set up by these two people, Churaman and the Badhan Singh, in the Rajasthan area. But the Jat power reached at its highest glory in the Surajmal, who ruled from 1756 to 1763. Okay, that is in 18th century. An extremely able administrator. So he was a person of great administrator, soldier, and a very wise statesman. He was a person of great diplomat as well. Okay, he was a great person of great diplomat as well. So his estates included Agra, Mathura, Meerut and Aligarh, and he followed the Mughal revenue system as well. So it is same like the Jagirdar and the Mansabdars and all. Okay, after his death in the 1763, again the same situation happened as we have seen in the Rajputs as well. Okay, so the quarrel happened between them. The same thing happened between the Mughal as well. So after the death of Aurangzeb, the quarrel happened between the thrones. Same thing happened for the Jats as well. So after his death, it split up into the petty Jamindars, and most of whom they started to plunder for the region. So it was like the control over is under the hand of Jamindars for the Jats. For the Mughals, the control was under the hands of noble. For the Maratha, the control was under the hands of Sardars or the Peshwas. Okay, so that kind of situation was always leading there. Okay, so this is all about the Jats, but now we will see that the formation of Sikhs and all in the next slide is there. Sorry, So the Bangash Pathans and the Rohilas, Rohilas, so they were the group of, they were none other, they were the group of the Afghans only. So they were a separate community for the Afghan. Okay, and they always had an issue with the Mughals because they want to extend their support, extend their area till the Delhi, and that's why we have seen that the plunder by the Ahmad Shah Abdalis and all. That had, because this is one of the reasons that the plunder happened with the Delhi, where the Kohinoors and all were taken away. Okay, so Muhammad Khan Bangash, an Afghan adventurer, established his control over the territory till Farrukhabad during the reign of the Farrukh Siyar and the Muhammad Shah. So that the Sayyid brothers, and also during the reign of the Sayyid brothers. So they started to control for that regions as well. Okay, Muhammad Shah, the Chin Kulij Khan, so that who left the Mughal Empire and formed the first that Nizam of Hyderabad, Chin Kulij Khan. Okay. So, and in that Sayyid brothers were the nobles during that period. So they established their control till Farrukhabad, and yes, there was the period where the plunder happened, and during the breakdown of the administration following by the Nadir Shah invasion, yes, he was the person who took away the thrones, the peacock thrones of the Shah Jahan and the Kohinoor diamond through him, Nadir Shah invasion. And Ali Muhammad Khan carved out the separate principality known as the Rohilkhand at the foothills of the Himalayas between the Ganges. So there is like the people who are living in they have the separate group that is named the Rohilkhand. They were living in the people living at the foothills of the Himalayas in the Ganga, that is in the south, in the Kumaon hills. Okay, and the regions that were first set up the capital was in the Bareilly and the Rampur. So the Rohilas were none other than, they were a community of the Afghan and clashed constantly with the Awadh, Delhi and the Jats. That's why the plunder. That's why these were the reasons why the plunder was continuously happening in the Delhi. Okay, these were the groups that Afghans. So Afghans were one of the main reasons for all the plunder that was happening in the Delhi regions. Okay. Now the Sikhs, for which we were waiting. Okay. So the Jats, so Sikh community was formed with the poor or lower caste people of the Jats only. Okay, and they formed this Sikh community. So the Sikh community founded in the 15th century by the Guru Nanak. Always remember, it was founded by the Guru Nanak, and the last and 10th Guru was your Guru Gobind Singh. After that, no Guru came. So many things happened between this time, where Aurangzeb had also a great role played, where he killed the Guru Tej Bahadur, and because of that all the rivalries happened between the Mughals and all. Okay, and it was this fight happened because Aurangzeb wanted the Guru Tej Bahadur to change their religion into the Muslim, and he did not accept it, and that's why he executed him. Okay, so the Sikhs was founded in the 15th century by the Guru Nanak. Sikh religion spread among the Jat peasantry and other lower caste of the Punjab. Transformation of the Sikh into a militant fighting community was begun by the Guru Hargobind Singh. So see, as that in the starting it was like the group of the peasantry only. Okay, there was a group formation of by the lower caste people of the Punjab, of the Sikhs. Okay, after that this Sikh started had a militant group within them always. Okay, I'm missing one word. If I remember, I will tell. So they started to form a militant over there that were known as the fighting community. They started to call, and it was first started by none other than Guru Hargobind Singh in 1606 to 45. But no issues happened after that. But Guru Tej Bahadur, after that, when he came, then the situation got worsened with the Mughals. Okay. So, but it was Guru under Guru Gobind Singh, that's the 10th Guru. He was the one who formed the military things improved during his time, during the 10th Guru. Why? Because Guru Gobind Singh wanted to take revenge from Mughal. Okay, why? What revenge? Because Aurangzeb killed his father, Guru Tej Bahadur, executed him. And why he executed him? Because he did not accept Islam. Okay, so that's why, to take the revenge from the Mughal, Guru Gobind Singh, the 10th Guru, improved its militant power, improved the training of this militant, and the war declared by him to the Mughal. But when the war was declared, till that time Aurangzeb died. Okay, Aurangzeb died. Now who was ruling? Bahadur Shah. Bahadur Shah in the 1708. Now Bahadur Shah was ruling, and Bahadur Shah was a person of peace and morality. He wanted to rule. He knew that if you want to rule India, you have to be a unity among with other kings. So thus he managed a peace deal with the Guru Gobind Singh, and Guru Gobind Singh also agreed with that peace deal with Bahadur Shah. That was after the Aurangzeb who ruled. And but unfortunately, this Guru Gobind Singh get killed by one Afghan invader. And after that, when he was killed by Afghan invader, so his disciple, I think Banda Bahadur, yes, Banda Bahadur, his disciple raised war against the Mughal again. So that thing happened with the Sikh and Mughals. That quarrel happened between the Sikh and the Mughal. Okay, so we will see line by line what exactly is the scene. So it was under the Guru Gobind Singh X, the last Guru Sikh, 1606 to 1708. In the 1707, Aurangzeb died, and 1708 he died. And at the time Bahadur Shah was ruling, and he had a conspiracy peace deal with them, but unfortunately he also died. So the 10th and the last Guru Sikh, so that they became political and military force. Okay, so from 1699 he waged war against the god Aurangzeb and the Mughals to take the revenge of his father's execution, Guru Tej Bahadur. But in the end, a peace deal was signed by the Bahadur Shah. Okay, that is the son of Aurangzeb only. And for that throne also, the fight happened between the three sons of the Aurangzeb, and in that Bahadur Shah emerged victorious. Okay, so later he was killed by Afghan invader and his disciple Banda Bahadur, whose Banda Bahadur disciple, this Guru Gobind Singh, okay, handled the command after his death. And Banda Bahadur continued the war against the Mughals. Later he was captured in 1715 and he was killed. As the Mughal center was still strong at that time, so many upper caste of Punjab joined hands against the Banda Bahadur at this championship and the lower caste and the rural people. So it was the reason behind facing the loss, facing that lose with the fight with the Mughal and the Sikh militant. It was that still Aurangzeb died in the 1707. Yes, after Aurangzeb died, the Mughal administration started to decline, but it was not like that steep fall of the graph. No, Bahadur Shah had a strong. He ruled with a strong hand also. Okay, so his own person joined hand with the Banda Bahadur, and this became a reason for the death of Banda Bahadur. So the invader of Nadir Shah and Ahmad Shah Abdali, these two Afghan invader, and the consequent dislocation of Punjab administration gave the Sikh an opportunity to rise once again. So what happened, as I said in the previous slide, so the Afghans started to they were continuously invading for the Delhi region. So as Delhi was the center, so as you are continuously invading Delhi, so it means what, you are deteriorating the rule of the Mughal. Okay, and in that plunder, they took away the peacock throne of the Shah Jahan, the Kohinoor diamond and all. So this gave an idea to the other kings that yes, Mughal is not that much strong that he used to be. So, and thus this give a chance to the Sikh and the other regions, the Rajputs also, they give a chance to them to raise again. Okay. So the invasion of Nadir Shah and Ahmad Shah Abdali and the consequent dislocation of Punjab administration gave the Sikhs an opportunity to rise once again. They soon began to feel the political vacuum, as against they brought Punjab and the Jammu under their control in the 1765 to the 1800. The Sikhs were organized into 12 misls. Remember this, within the 12 misls, there we will see that one misl will become at the Punjab for the Ranjit Singh and all, for the different parts of the provinces. So they were distributed for the different places, and they formed the 12 misls. Okay, 12 groups like that. Okay, that they gradually power decreased and dominance because of the feudal chiefs and the jamindars as well. So right now, if you see the most of the Punjabis and also, they have a great they have a good land, they are great in agriculture and all. So that's the reason they have a background, kind of, they had a background, this kind of thing, jamindars and all. So that's why we will see the most of the jamindars, the money, the collections, the powers, the money, the richness that present for the Punjab peasants and all. Okay. So the Punjab under Ranjit Singh, he was also, this is a one section of the 12 missiles. So as I have seen in the 12 missiles background, it is one of the one section from them. So at the end of the 18th century, Ranjit Singh, a chief of Sukarcheya missile, rose to a prominence. That is the one of the kind of missile, no need to remember this name, but just take understand, he is one of them from the missile. So he was born, he was a great man of the leader, diplomatic, he has a great rule of administration, but after his death also the same thing happened with the, what happened with the death of Aurangzeb, Rajputs and all. Okay. So for him, he was a great leader of men with great administration skill and the diplomat. He was a great diplomat person. So he captured Lahore in the 1799. Remember, in the 1799, who died? Tipu Sultan. There was a fight happening between the south, between the British and the Mysore. So in that, Tipu Sultan died in the 1799 only. And here in the 1799, this Punjab, Ranjit Singh captured Lahore in that same period. Amritsar in the 1802. So he bought all Sikh chieftains west of the Satluj under his control and established his own kingdom in the Punjab. Later he conquered Kashmir, Peshawar and the Multan. So we will see that here they had a control over the Jammu and Kashmir and all. So he captured all those things. And we will see that the army that was developed by him was a great. So it was called that these are the second best army in the Asia. His army was called to be second best army of the Asia, and first was the British East India Company. Why? So it is because he trained his officials based upon the Western things. So whatever the trainings, troops trainings and all, that was being copied from the Western things, and Western people he hired few Western people who used to train his military, and that's why his military was called to be the second best military of the Asia. So the old Sikh chiefs were transformed into big jamindars into his reign, and the jagirdars. He did not make any changes to the land revenue system. That is the same, jagirs and the jamindars will be followed. Jagirs will be like a small land, jamin will be a small land, and jamindar and jagirdar will be the officials who will collect the tax based upon the cultivation. So like the Sardesh Mukhi, Chauth and all will be collected. So he built a powerful, disciplined and well equipped army along the European lines with the help of European instructors. He hired the European instructors and built his army based on the European lines, trainings given to them. His new army was not confined to Sikh, that military purpose. It's not confined to that group, and he recruited Gurkhas were the people of Nepal, Darjeeling, Sikkim and also. He recruited Gurkhas, Biharis, Orias, Pathans, Dogras and the Punjabis people, Muslims and all. So it's not like that. Yes, Hindu was also there, Muslim also there. So that's why it is said that the 18th century is always a secular kind of thing. I'm repeating this statement in all my recent videos. If I'm talking about the 18th century, yes, he crossed till 1802, but yes, he had an army with the Hindus and Muslims, Sikhs and all present there. Okay, so it was said that the possessed along the second best army of the Asia, and the first was the British East India Company. So that's why when there was a war, when there was a kind of war between British and Ranjit Singh accepted to not to go into the British region, and because he knew that the British army is superior than us, and thus he maintained the peace for his empire, and he left those things for the successor that we will see in this slide. Okay, so he had an outstanding army in his court, and he has a tolerant and a liberal in religious matter. He patronized not only Sikh but Muslims and Hindu as well. But Sikh peasants were oppressed by the Sikh chief as from the Hindu or the Muslim peasants. So it is like Sikh peasants were oppressed by, like, if there are Hindu officials there, so there was kind of little bit discrimination, but it was negligible only. Structure of a state was similar to the other states of that period. The British forbade him after that, when they tried to cross the Satluj, British standing there, and they revoked them. So that standing, they did not allow to cross the Satluj, and further he did not wage war against him because he knew that their army is superior than us. So he did not wage war against them, as he knew the superior army of the military. Thus, by his diplomatic realism, that's why he is told to be, as he is a great diplomat as well. He was a great diplomat as well. Okay, by his diplomacy and reality, he accepted the reality. Yes, my army is down with you, and if we have a war, we may lose, and our great officials will also die. So he accepted that thing, and military action, he temporarily saved his kingdom from the English encroachment, and he left this task for the encroaching the Satluj and all to his successors, but they failed to do so, and this English led to move in and conquered this region. So under his rule, the Ranjit Singh, yes, Punjab flourished. I hope you have liked this video. Please like and subscribe. Your subscription is a form of payment for me. This is a new channel. I really need your support. Thank you.